What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're here to talk about the Super Boss, Pirate Alliance Kizuna Clash. I've already uploaded a video going through all of the regular bosses with various different teams. If you guys want to go ahead and check that out, go ahead and peep the channel. But today we're focusing on the Super Boss. Now, in today's video, we have just my own 3 personal teams that I've used for each of the variations thus far. I don't think they're super amazing, but then again, this is going to be the type of event where if you don't have some of the more recently released characters, you're not going to be doing upwards of like 2 billion damage. You know, if you lack the support rare recruit Otoko, if you lack Kinemon Denjiro, Izo, and Okiku, you're not going to be reaching those massive values. Even if you don't have your own rainbowed final tap Luffy, you're not going to be reaching those massive values. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be reaching those crazy values that you'll see in other videos flying around the internet. But I'm really excited to show you guys some of these teams here because it is still satisfying to go ahead and kill these bosses because of how much damage you're actually outputting against these guys. So the super bosses, of course, they are the same colors as the original, being an int boss, then a strength boss, and then a psi boss. However, the gimmicks do slightly alter from the original variations, and they'll all be in this video today, so don't mind that. Now, before we get into this video as well, I want to quickly just talk about the actual character itself, which is this Orochi character. I've nearly got him at Super Evolution, so he's almost ready to go. But this Orochi character, we briefly talked on him in the previous video for the regular bosses, but let's go through him once again. He's a strength-driven powerhouse with a captain ability that gives the driven characters a 4 times boost if you have a full team of driven, and if you have 5 or more strength units, you get a 1.3 health boost to strength, and then makes the crew's quick and deck slots beneficial. Bit of a niche thing, running a full strength team that are also driven. Don't really know how much I like that, but it's really supposed to be used with Final Tap Kaido, which also recently released. Now, the special ability of this unit reduces bind, despair, attack down, and special bind by 3, and then also gives a 2 times all boost to driven for 2 turns, and then if you've consumed 10 or more strength slots before you launch the special, you get a 3.25 times chain lock. It just seems a bit niche, and I don't like the fact that he removes special bind in his special, but both of his crewmate effects, none of them remove special bind, so just a terrible combination of specials here, really poorly designed. He doesn't really have too much else going on. He has a pretty terrible support effect, and then in his Pyrumble stats, he does have some interesting stuff here. Strength HP level 5, guard percent up level 5, and then his special ability 25 CT, by the way. Strength teammates level 4 defense, and targets one teammate with the highest current health for 2500 healing, and then he also activates a provoke. Now, I don't know if that provoke is for himself or for the character that he targeted. Could be either or, but it's not the best. But I suppose if you're the type of player that doesn't have a lot of units in Pirate Rumble, potentially you could build something with this, but it's not amazing, I'll tell you that. This is a very underwhelming free-to-play Super Boss Kizuna character. I really wish he was a lot better. But anyways, that's the breakdown of this unit. Let's go ahead now and jump into the Super Bosses versus Orochi. Alright, so we're in here now with the Int Super Boss, which is the first Super Boss that you should be encountering here. And this team is going to be utilizing Final Tap Luffy at level 5, and this is going to be a constant theme throughout the teams here. Now, if you have your own Final Tap Luffy crew at level 5, it is way more ideal to use them as a crewmate, and then you can utilize other friend captains to get a lot more going in your favor. And unfortunately for me, because I don't have some of those other heavy hitters like Kinemon Denjiro, Izo, and Okiku specifically for the strength variation as well, it really does hurt in terms of team building. Would definitely prefer to use some of those as friend captains, but Final Tap Luffy at level 5, like, there's just no reason not to use it. If you have access to some of those as a friend captain, you just have to do it, because it just adds so much additional damage. It literally over doubles the damage that you would normally be doing. It's just crazy, right? So just talking very briefly about all of these super boss fights, support effects are going to be very, very useful in these types of quests. If you don't have decent support characters, this is going to be a struggle in terms of your damage output. I mean, you can still do, you know, a couple 100 million here or there if you don't have some key support characters, because you do need to, you know, put a lot of time and effort into some of these utilities here. Luckily, a lot of the debuffs that you'll be inflicted in these super bosses, they're only like 1 or 2 turns. It's usually doesn't go above that. but it's the fact that you do need to also accommodate for outputting a lot of damage. So you see a lot of support characters on these teams are going to be very, very useful here for allowing us to remove either Despair, Bind, Attack Down, defensive effects. So I'll leave you guys with this clip here versus the Int boss here. We do a pretty substantial amount of damage, nothing too crazy, but we do a pretty good amount of damage to them. Moving on now to the strength variation. Now this is the team that I don't like really using that much. I've just felt like it really should have been able to do a little bit more damage, but look, it is what it is. You have to accommodate for what you have. Luckily for us though, we do actually have V2 Odin, which is kind of nice. He gives us a pretty substantial color affinity boost on the final stage. I was trying to play around with using Odin on stage 2, so that when we actually reach the final stage, Toki's attack and orb boost, instead of becoming a 3.5 times boost, due to Odin's effect, it would become a 3.75 times boost. And I was trying to find ways to kind of like maybe extend the color affinity, but unfortunately Luffy crew, they only extend the beneficial buffs by 1 turn. If they extended it by 2 turns, it would have been absolutely bussin', because we could have had the color affinity boost on this stage. We would have had the 3.75 times attack and orb boost from Toki, and we'd have the 2.5 times color affinity from Odin on the last stage as well. Unfortunately, we do have to use it in a certain way where we have to get the color affinity on the final stage instead, which means that Toki's attack and orb boost is only just going to be the regular 3.5 times boost instead. And of course, with the Toki buffs and then using Final Tap Luffy as the last character to attack, it's very, very good. Remember to use your Toki effects on characters that are not Luffy crew, because Luffy crew's damage is not added to his final tap. So just because Luffy crew hits really, really hard, that doesn't actually multiply anything into the final tap. It's all the damage that is done prior to Luffy crew's final tap. So you got to make sure that, you know, you're attacking really, really heavily with the characters before Luffy crew. It doesn't even matter if Luffy crew does like 1 damage. It's just as long as they're the last character to attack and all the heavy damage is done prior to. That's the way you want to get around it, and you utilize, you know, these characters in such a manner to do as much damage as you possibly can. And then moving on to the final boss here, we have the versus Psy boss. So we're running, you know, a couple of int characters here. Now this one, I'm not really too happy about this one either. The way that we're doing enough damage is we are utilizing, you know, Toki using her buffs on Bon Clay and also Yamato. We're using Yamato here because we're able to get, obviously, type advantage because she's int, but also because we can use her to get Wano slots, and we can get a pretty good chain boost out of it too. Though the problem is I do also want to use the super type of Bon Clay, which actually gives us a 3.25 times chain multiplier. And in my head, after doing some calculations, I believe using the super type is definitely the way to go. You know, even though we get a 3.25 times chain lock, when that kind of, you know, conflicts with a chain boost, remember that some of these boss fights, you know, they have that stupid effect where if your chain goes over a certain value, then you actually don't, you know, you get like an attack down, which is really, really annoying. So you do have to keep that in mind when you are building teams for these types of quests. But, you know, we're also using, you know, the Bon Clay, which is able to change into a striker character, which gets the color affinity boost from the Whitebeard and Roger character. We also have Odin as well, which is enabling us to get the 3.75 times attack and orb boost from Toki on the final stage, which is really great. And that's pretty much it. So we have, you know, the Toki buffs, we have color affinity from Whitebeard and Roger, and then we have, you know, the 3.25 times chain lock from the Bon Clay. But unfortunately, you know, increased damage taken, not being able to be applied, also kind of hurts, would have increased the damage by a pretty substantial margin. But I think these are the teams I'm using at the moment, but, you know, talking with my alliance, I'm probably going to alter these teams a little bit in the future, and if these teams, you know, change drastically in terms of the amount of damage I'm doing, I'll probably do a follow-up video for this, so definitely stay tuned. But obviously, all of the information and gimmicks for all of these super bosses are on the video, so you can go ahead and check out what each of these bosses do in greater detail. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.